And we are live. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to Forever Sports. It is Test Week, ladies and gentlemen. The Boks are back in action this weekend as we kick off our end of year tour against Japan. And it's going to be a very interesting tour, I think. So many different sort of aspects to it. Massive games, the likes of Ireland and France. 5 games itself. It's a very long tour, lots of tests to try and get different types of teams together and really sort of see how we're sort of shaping up. And I also think that we have seen a bit of a changing of the guard with the squad that we've actually announced for the tour, and that's why I'm very interested to see what the team's going to look like this weekend. Now, coming up on the show today, we're going to be talking a little bit about, can the Springboks go undefeated during November? That is going to be the poll I'm going to ask. Can, or rather will, the Springboks go undefeated in the November internationals? Very, very simple yes or no question, people. Let me know what you think. A simple yes or no. And I'll tell you what, if we do, there's not going to be a lot of causes to really justify us not being considered the best team in World Rugby at the moment. Because, that would essentially mean that we've lost, one test the entire year. Two tests the entire year, if we were to go undefeated, which would then be a 13 out of 15 win rate and would include wins against New Zealand, France, Ireland, Argentina, Australia, Italy times 3. So it's a very, very big opportunity for the Boks to really state their claim as the overriding current world favorites for the World Cup coming up, which I think we are at the moment, to be honest. And it's weird how when you think that after we lost to Australia, then beat them sort of closely, and then obviously we lost at Eden Park, there was a bit of panic, for example. And since then, the performances we've seen from the Boks have been such a high standard that all the sort of doubt and the worry has seemingly gone out the window. And now we're talking about the fact that we are, definitely the number one side in the world. But we've got to prove that now in the next 2 games, who I think are against, or the next 2 of the next 5 games, against the 2 teams that are best in the world, and that is Ireland and France. You beat those 2, I don't think there's any sort of real justification to say that we aren't the best team in the world. It becomes quite a simple conversation I have. SPG says, what's the latest with the Vessels appeal? Anyone? We haven't heard anything official. As far as we understand, he is set to appeal the decision, but he is not, we haven't actually heard whether it's been officially done, for example, what the timeline is. At this stage, we've actually not heard about a replacement for him in the Boks squad. So, no, as far as we understand, Bongi Manambi has not gone over just yet. For example, he is the hooker on standby, assuming that we put in a hooker, but given the fact we've only got 2 other hookers in the squad in Malcolm Marks and Johan Krobela, we kind of assume that would be the case, that Bongi Manambi would probably go up. And the fact that we haven't no confirmation means I think that they are going to look to appeal it and potentially try and see if he can actually join up on the tour and be part of it, which is good. I mean, obviously he's had such a good season for the Boks as Jan Hendrik Wessels. He's really up to his Boks stocks. And I think that he is truly a big part of the wider thinking of the World Cup squad at the moment. And I really do think that he's going to play many games in the next couple of years for the Boks. And I think that he, at this stage, is probably on that World Cup squad list. The question is, can we get him involved in this tour, or is he going to have to serve that 9-match ban? And I'm not going to talk too much about it. I spoke a lot about it last week, and and the issues with it, why it's been so controversial, why so many people are upset about the ban, and what the precedent that is being set is. And I think it's just frustrating because it's just we're getting limited information, and the information that we have gotten sort of shows that there wasn't any additional evidence. And I think that's what the big frustration is, the fact that I don't think anybody's denying that something happened along the way, but we can't actually see what it is, and he's been banned very, very hectically when there's been an absence of facts. And that is a very slippery slope, because at the end of the day, you're now basically banning players on hearsay. I mean, I don't want to get down to that route, because it gets very, very messy very, very quickly. And that's where we start to worry. And I mean, there was some documents that came out, for example, and it's going to be interesting to see what the appeal is going to look like. And I think that the big thing that is being taken into consideration is Murphy's submission, which says as follows. I've actually got a list if you want to talk about it quickly. He says, I felt the player grab my testicles, and that's when I reacted immediately. He said, that's what happened. That's why I reacted, because of how he grabbed and squeezed my testicles. I wouldn't have reacted otherwise. And the full judgment said that Murphy entered the ruck legally, eventually positioning his left arm over the back of Bulls number 2, UNDEFEATED Vessels. Both players were grounded, yet still actively engaged in the ruck. He said at this point, Murphy was positioned to the left of Vessels with their bodies in close proximity, Murphy's head near Vessels' hips and vice versa. It is at this juncture that the alleged act of foul play occurred. The live television feed, while not conclusive in capturing direct contact, clearly shows Vessels' right elbow grounded and his head turning backwards towards Murphy. Simultaneously, Vessel's left arm, partially obscured, can be seen moving in an unnatural arc towards Murphy's groin area. The movement is not consistent with any legitimate rucking, grasp, or binding action. Immediately following the contact, Murphy reacts with the visible and audible distress. He attempts to push/strike Vessels away and can be heard several times in the referee saying, microphone exclaiming, he grabbed me right there, gesturing unmistakably to his groin. His tone is one of shock, distress, and disbelief, yet he remains articulate and composed in his protest. I mean, you might as well have written that himself, into the side conditioner. He then said, I was present at the match, positioned to approximately 20 meters from the incident. My direct line of sight corroborated the sequence of events as described by Murphy and partially captured on video. The reaction from Murphy was immediate and unmistakably one of frustration. While the video footage does not provide irrefutable visual confirmation of the exact point of contact, the totality of evidence, which is just Murphy's immediate reaction, has consistent and credible testimony, the unnatural movement of Vessel's arm, and the corroboration live observation, now depending on what somebody thinks they saw at the game, leads to a compelling conclusion. And they basically said, on the balance of probabilities in light of the evidence presented, it is my firm belief that Vodacom Bulls number 2, UNDEFEATED Vessels, committed a serious act of foul play by grabbing and, as alleged, twisting the testicles. So that is the official society commissioner that basically said to that. And as I said, the fact that they continue to talk about the lack thereof of video evidence to unmistakably, and irrefutably show the incident is frustrating. And again, I think for me, it's a very difficult. It's very difficult to allow this to become precedent, given the fact that it is a bit of a she shed type of situation. But he is supposedly going to appeal the ban, and when we have any more information about it, then we shall talk about it and give you guys an update. Just rock up, Seb. Who would you pick at 15 if Willemse does not recover for the French? I think we'll obviously have to call somebody up, to be honest. My guess is we would probably call up Villaroo would be the safe one. I'd love to see Quan Horn, who once again was very good this weekend, get the backing. Alternatively, in terms of your 15 options, you can go with Sash Fami Gomez-Zulu in the number 15 jersey. You could go with Chisholm Colby in the 15 jersey. Maybe in front of Murphy, suddenly played there a couple of times for the Sharks. Personally, I'd love to call up Quan Horn and give him a go, in all honesty. But yeah, basically in terms of the Willemse situation, he tweaked his hamstring over the weekend, so it's touch and go as to whether he'll be fit for this weekend. They haven't brought anybody up officially or made any additions to the squad as of now. So I think at this stage, we're hoping it's not actually as serious as it could be. If it is quite serious, then I think we will see somebody get called up. Alternatively, I reckon we might see Sash at 15 this weekend against Japan. Albert says, I think France is not going to be our toughest because France is undercooked and many injuries. Ireland will be the real test. I do think Ireland is the big one for me. Kid Cynical says, Willemse picked up a hamstring strain, but he is with the squad. If it was serious, he wouldn't have come. Nicholas Gard says, Steve, what's your prediction? Want to do some sports bets, man? Help, please. We'll do a prediction show this weekend, shall we? For on my picks, and then I can give you some my reserved opinion as to what some of the scorelines might be this weekend. Alpha Lincoln says, call up the Lions 15. That is quite Horn. Vince Slater says, and I thought soccer players are such actors. Albert then saying, Villaroo won't let us down, but surely Lions 15s can get a chance. Pitch for the Mirror saying something is, or assuming rotten. In Ireland, Bershus Maximus said, should have called up Quine earlier in the season, but might have to throw caution to the wind and drop him in the deep end. I 100% agree with that. Herman saying, at the end of these 5 test matches, we will look back and we'll be in awe of how every selection and combination be it in the starting 15 or off the bench, and we'll see how the overall World Cup prep. I agree. I think it's going to be very fun to really look at. I think it's really, really cool to see that. It'll be interesting to see how everything's going to have been sort of structured throughout the season. When you kind of look at the review, you kind of look at every individual selection. You can probably start to see potential patterns, for example, and I think it's going to be a case of finding out which players played the most minutes, for example, which combinations played the most minutes. And I think we'll then start to understand really where we are with our World Cup preparations and what the sort of overall plan is for them. So Kid Cynical says, Steve, do you know when the squad announcement is scheduled for? I do indeed. The match day squad will be announced tomorrow at about 5 o'clock South African Standard Time. It has already been scheduled in terms of our show, so you can come and join us tomorrow. And so it should be live at about 5 o'clock. That is what we have been told. We will have the press conference for you tomorrow and Friday. At this stage, we are actually not sure how much we're going to be able to give you guys. There is a bit of a media blackout for non-traveling media at the moment. So we do have correspondence in certain locations throughout this tour, but SA Rugby is a bit of a media blackout, to be perfectly honest, with what they are providing. So we will give you guys what we can, and we are definitely trying to get correspondence to all the different games, because that is what we try and do, is to make sure you guys get closer to the game than ever. But these things are quite complicated and quite costly as well. So, but we are trying. We are trying. Mike says hamstring is bad. They are badass players and tend to work through injury. He needs to rest. And I would say, pretty sure I saw something. Villiers has been called up as injury cover. Vincent reckons we are already the best team in the world. Albert says, Rusty really rate Jan Hendricks 120 kgs with Kwagga's work rate. Mike's saying, maybe Colby on fullback and let Edville in. And SVG says, as far as fullbacks go, is Jordan Henderson not back for the Sharks? He is indeed played over the weekend at fullback as well, which is quite interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much he plays at fullback versus 10 at the Sharks. I think he is at 10, and I think that's his best position. But with the injury to Apple Fascia, I do think he'll get game time at 15. John Smith at 10, for example. You see Masuku was withdrawn, but he's an option at 10. I think they've probably got more options at 10 really than they do at 15 at the box at the moment. So it'll be interesting to sort of see how that goes. People, before I go any further, I am going to drop a link, and that is to join our Forever Sports November Internationals Score Prediction League, which at the moment is sitting with 5 members, but I want to get, I'd love to get 100 people involved in that over there. And so I'm gonna share the link in the comments, and I want you guys to go and get involved in that. This is for the Score Prediction League. We're also going to be doing a Springbok Team Predicting League. That is also going to, we will drop that link tomorrow when we do our Team Predictor, which is going to be tomorrow at probably tomorrow morning is the plan at this stage. But go and get involved in the different leagues, stuff like that. If you are interested, go check out and you're in South Africa, go check out our community tab. There's a company called Ubuntu Capital who are running a competition for the Springbok Team Predictor, and you can win up to 500 Rand throughout November if you predict the Springbok team correctly. And there aren't that many people signed up so far. So go get yourself involved, because you get yourself a very good chance of being a winner there. And we are approaching lots of different corporate companies to get involved in these sort of things and put some big prizes, because we want to really grow our community on MyPicks, and we want to make sure you guys are a part of that. So currently on the Forever Sports Score Prediction, the likes of Just Rock Up, JP, myself, you can see me over there, Colin Murray, as well as Abu Dhabi Dave, who have all jumped into the Forever Sports Score Predictor League. Go and add your name to that list. Get involved and take me on. Not that's particularly difficult, I really don't think. And I see that Siyabonga Similani has just jumped in. So there we go. People starting to jump into the league, which is really good to see. Petra says, on your post for tomorrow, team announcement meant to say against Argentina. It's a bit weird. But YouTube has been a bit weird today, where it hasn't been updating a lot of the titles. Because obviously what you actually do, fun fact, if you're part of YouTube, is you create... you can basically use previous streams as a template. The problem with that is then sometimes, as apparently it doesn't update correctly. So I shall go and check that. Thank you very much for letting me know. Appreciate your guys' work. But that will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock So keep voting on the poll in terms of will the Springboks go undefeated in the November international. 60% people saying yes. I like the confidence. I think that we probably drop one game. I'm hoping it'll just be maximum one game, and I don't think that would be a train smash. In all honesty, ideally, I'd really like to beat Ireland. At the same time, it's such a grudge match against France. I actually don't know which one I'd rather win, to be honest. I don't know which one. Maybe we'll do that as a poll tomorrow in our live stream. Is talk about which game would we rather lose, France or Ireland. I mean, I don't. If it wasn't for like the fact that this is our first game against France since the World Cup quarterfinal, I'd say if we lose to Ireland, we lose. I mean, we lose to France, we lose to France. I really want to beat Ireland because I think that Ireland have been the number one side in the last few years alongside the Springboks, and we didn't manage to do that 2-0 against them and kind of settle that debate. Whereas I think if you've gone 1-1 last year in South Africa, if we go over there and beat them in Dublin, I think that starts to put to rest. So I think that given the fact that Ireland have beaten us more often recently than we have beaten them, that's for me is probably our biggest match of this season. I think that's the match I'd really like to see us win. We also seem to be actually developing a bit of a big rivalry against Ireland, which is quite cool. So I think that's probably my big test that I'd like to win. You're not going to drop. I don't think we're going to lose to Japan. I don't think we're going to lose to Italy. I don't think we're going to lose to Wales. I think this weekend will potentially probably be a bit of a sloppy performance, given the fact that we haven't played for a while. We obviously have players who haven't been involved in the URC that'll be playing. So a lot of the Japan-based players will probably be looking for game time. There's certain players who aren't available, such as Arke Sneeman, for example, Jean Clay. Who else isn't available? Who else is playing over there? Thomas Totoy, I don't think is available for this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see what the team looks like, and that's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to do our team prediction. But the nice thing is that all the Japan-based players will be available, but haven't played rugby since the Argentina game, which was, to be fair, which actually isn't that long ago. It was about 3